Hello friends. Today I am beyond excited to share with you my Mount Everest Base Camp journey during late January 2024. It was a life-changing experience. When I finally set foot at base camp on February 3rd, it felt like a dream come true, ticking off an item from my bucket list. But guess what? I realized that the real magic wasn't just reaching the destination. It is about the crazy journey to get there. And my journey started when I booked this trek back in June 2023. Months of research and planning on the trek route, doing daily exercises and yoga to prepare my body and mind, consulting with past trekkers on social media, it was all part of that dream journey. Then the time arrived. Starting from Kathmandu, we flew to one of the deadliest airports of the world, Tenzing-Hillary Airport in Lukla. It was 11 days of hiking in the Sagarmatha National Park in Nepal, which is part of the Khumbhu Region. We started off trekking through snow-clad forests along the Dudh Koshi River. The scenery was straight out of a postcard. Along the way, we encountered a myriad of people, fellow travelers from all corners of the globe, locals with their warm smiles, and the unsung heroes of the trail, the porters and yaks carrying heavy loads. We crossed Namche Bazar, the biggest town in the Khumbhu region. The snowy hike from Namchhe to the beautiful village of Tengbochey was probably the most steep ascent of the whole trek. We chose a January trek so that we can avoid the crowds of peak season and embrace the challenge of the extreme cold and snow-clad trekking trails. The landscape gradually shifted as we hiked through Dingbochey, Lobuchey, and Gorakshep, revealing rock-clad barren valleys that seemed to stretch on forever. The region was surrounded by the towering peaks of the Khumbhu Valley. It was very windy during the days, and temperature fell up to minus 20 degrees Celsius during the nights. I'll admit, I was pretty nervous at first. The thought of facing extreme cold and high altitudes had me shaking in my boots. But guess what? The mountains had a different plan for me. As I walked those trails, I was gradually reborn. The real treat came when we reached the Khumbhu Glacier, hiked alongside it to finally reach Everest Base Camp. So, grab your hiking boots, pack your sense of wonder, and join me as we embark on this epic adventure together. We'll uncover the mysteries of Everest Base Camp and maybe even discover a little something about ourselves along the way. Starting from Bangalore, my friend Ovijit and I, Orko, reached Kathmandu in the afternoon. Our hearts filled with excitement as our long-awaited trek was finally about to begin, after months of preparation. We stayed in Tamil, a busy part of Kathmandu known for its nightlife. We took leisurely walks around the lively markets there. We attended an induction session with our tour agent. We rented sleeping bags in Tamil and exchanged currency for the trek. After dinner, we retired early. Our flight to Lukla was set for 6:30 a.m. the next day. Our journey began with a 6 a.m. flight from Kathmandu to Lukla Tenzing-Hillary Airport. Despite a 3.5-hour delay due to snow on the Lukla runway, the panoramic views of the snow-capped mountains from the left side of the flight were mesmerizing. The flight ended in a thrilling landing at Lukla, setting the tone for the adventures ahead. Flights often gets delayed or canceled in this route due to weather conditions at Lukla, so trekkers should keep buffer days in itinerary to accommodate such cancellations. After lunch in Lukla, our guide procured our trekking permits, essential for our journey through various checkpoints. Setting off on our trek, we traversed through Charakarka village, and descended to Dudh Koshi Ghat, then followed the flow of the Dudh Koshi River. The trails were blissfully uncrowded, granting us the joy of traversing the scenic mountain paths amidst the gentle drizzle of snow. It was moments of pure ecstasy. The daunting living conditions reminded us that life always perseveres, gracefully carving its path through all odds. We reached PHAKDING at around 3:30 p.m. The accommodations in the tea houses along the trek were snug, with 2 beds, a table, and just enough space for 2 duffel bags. Each tea house boasted a communal dining area, where tired trekkers gathered after a day's journey. Engaging in lively conversations around the fireplace, we connected with fellow travelers. As night fell, it became customary to retire early, usually around 8 p.m., with little to do after dark and early starts awaiting us in the mornings. At 8:30 in the morning, our journey began towards Namche Bazar, the largest Sherpa village in Nepal. The initial trail was mostly flat. The Dudh Koshi River was humming melodies to our ears. As we hiked through the shaded valleys, we were greeted by the awe-inspiring sight of the snow giants glowing in the morning sun. We got Nepalese SIM cards from Kathmandu Airport. Mobile networks typically remain accessible until Dingbochey, depending upon weather conditions. Hiked through a serene pine forest to Namchhe, about 2 hours away from PHAKDING. The trail was peaceful and cloaked in fresh snow. However, there were some slippery patches due to the snow freezing into ice under the shade of pine forests. As we approached the entrance to Sagarmatha National Park for a brief permit check, we descended to the Dudh Koshi River, admiring the ancient Mani stones along the way. Continuing along the riverbank, we encountered the iconic Hillary Suspension Bridge. The journey then turned steep, with a challenging climb up rocky, slippery roads adorned with countless hairpin bends, leading us closer to Namche Bazar. We reached the colorful town of Namchhe at 3:30 p.m. We whiled away the hours in the hotel dining area, retired for the night of shivering cold, anticipating the restful acclimatization day tomorrow. On this day, we take a well-deserved break, allowing our bodies to become acclimatized to the lofty altitude. With our backpacks prepared, we set out for the optional treks, filled with excitement. Upon reaching the Sherpa Cultural Museum, caught my first glimpse of Mount Everest during the trek.
Number 1 is called the Mount Everest.
Okay.
And then second one to the right side, cloudy, but covered cloudy, that's called the Lobuchey, which is 4th highest in the world. And then it looks like taller than Mount Everest, but it's not. It's called the Mount Everest. That's called Amadablam, which is 6,800 meters. And we just in front of this mountain, it's called the Namchhe, which is 6,600 meters.
Next, we embarked on a steep 300-meter ascent to the Tengbochey viewpoint, where we were treated to a mesmerizing panorama of towering mountains, including Everest, before the clouds rolled in. The gargantuan mountains stood tall as a humbling reminder of our insignificance in the vast embrace of nature's majesty. As we descended, I began to feel a headache coming on, prompting me to take a Disprin and lots of water. I rested the afternoon at the hotel's dining area, connecting with local people. As I started feeling better, we ventured out to explore the town of Namchhe, the largest in the Khumbhu region, and a bustling hub connecting various routes in the area. The town is a shopper's paradise, although most establishments were closed due to an off-season. Our exploration took us from the heart of the town near a Buddhist stupa to the uphill climb to Namche Monastery. We continued upward from the monastery to a helipad, offering a splendid aerial view of the town. There we took a moment to meditate and rejuvenate ourselves. Finally, we had dinner and retired for the night at 9 p.m. We woke up to a freezing morning, struggling to come out of our warm sleeping shells. The breakfast gave us a boost for another day of hiking towards the Everest Base Camp. The path started off pretty flat, with stunning views of the Himalayas all around. It's prudent to note that there aren't many healthcare facilities available on the trek route. You should carry your own medicines. Your guide will usually carry a first aid kit and should be an expert at identifying mountain sickness and able to help you in need. In case of acute illnesses, helicopter evacuations are conducted by private operators, which is a very costly affair. Hence, having trekking insurance is a must. We stopped for tea at Sansa. After that, we had a bit of descent. Recovering from my headache yesterday, I trekked pretty strong today. I was having 125 milligram of Diamox twice a day since the beginning of the trek, and continued till the end. But one must consult a doctor prior to starting Diamox. Had our lunch at Phungitenga, re-energizing for the journey ahead. Then came the challenging part, a steep climb to Tengbochey. The weather turned foggy and gentle snowflakes started falling. It felt magical, with everything around us covered in a soft, white blanket. The steep ascent left us breathless, yet with each step amidst the tranquil, snow-dusted forests, we drew nearer to the essence of nature. Reached Tengbochey around 3 p.m. and checked into our hotel. The misty veil restricted our views, making it feel like we were living in a dream covered in snow. After a brief rest, we visited the Tengbochey Monastery. Amidst the fog and snow, the monastery looked mystic. We paid a small fee to enter and spent some peaceful moments meditating. Later, we casually hiked a cliff near the hotel, strolled on the edge of a misty mountain, adding to the adventures. Returning to the warmth of the dining area, we spent the rest of the day swapping stories with the tea house staff. Woke up to the freezing temperature of -16 degrees Celsius. We were greeted by a clear sky and shiny mountain peaks. It was hard to believe that we stood in the same place that was shrouded in thick mist just yesterday. The weather offered us a breathtaking view of Mount Everest and Lhotse. One should walk very slow but steady on these high-altitude adverse terrains to reduce the chances of having an altitude sickness. Our trail of the day paralleled the canyon of the Imja River, raging with its glacial blue waters. It was a gradual climb up to the village of Tengbochey. We walked silently, with our souls immersed in the grandeur of nature and the mountains deeply entrenched in our hearts. Stopped for our lunch at the Samare village, situated in the lap of the mountains. The tree line started disappearing after this point. It was all barren rocky valleys. The weather became misty, and we eventually lost sight of the Everest. Our afternoon trek was a difficult one, as the landscape gives way to dry, deserted mountains. I started having a pounding headache and felt extremely tired. Reached Dingbochey at 3 p.m. and checked into our tea house. I immediately had a full Dimox, a Disprin, lots of water, followed by a power nap. My discomfort escalated as I began to experience upset stomach. Despite trying SOS medicines, I eventually resorted to antibiotics. I went to bed in dire distress, being unsure of the coming day. It was our last opportunity to recharge for a day before embarking on the final stretch of our adventure. My health had improved since yesterday. At 9 a.m., we began our hike towards Nangkarchong Peak. We pushed ourselves as far as we could hike without overexerting. We didn't reach the peak. Today's focus was on taking it easy to allow our bodies to acclimatize better. Every mountain step filled our lungs with pure air, drawing us nearer to nature's core. We were blessed with an awe-inspiring tapestry of majestic mountains. Stood there, speechless, embracing nature's vast expanse. As we left Dingbochey behind, the trek ahead unfurled into a more demanding terrain, marked by higher altitudes, rugged paths, and moraine fields. With every step, the biting cold and unyielding wind reminded us of the unforgiving nature of our surroundings. Gasping for breath in the thin air, we pressed on at a slow but determined pace, embracing the challenge that lay ahead. On that day, I hiked pretty strong and without much ailments bothering me. I made sure to stay hydrated throughout the trek to alleviate the effects of altitude sickness. I chose not to eat meat during the trek as it's usually transported from Kathmandu by flight and then by porters, and often not preserved properly. We paused for a much-needed lunch break at Lukla. We paid our respects at the Lukla Pass Memorial, where rows of stone memorials stood as a solemn tribute to those who had lost their lives on Everest expeditions. Continuing our journey, we were captivated by the rugged, icy terrain, evoking a sense of tranquility and eternity. The towering mountains soared towards the heavens, reminding me to appreciate my modest place within the grandeur of creation. Lobuchey greeted us with its humble charm, offering breathtaking view of the stone giants around. We settled in for the night, surrounded by towering peaks and the quiet serenity of the Himalayas. This is the big day when we finally achieve our long-cherished dream of reaching Everest Base Camp. Our journey begins at 7:30 a.m. with a relatively flat trek from Lobuchey to Gorakshep. I was feeling fatigued and battling an extreme headache on the way. While the roaring winds sang the song of creation, and the vibrant sunshine painted a vivid picture of nature's morning chores in the mountain valley, people walked in silent wonder. We arrive at Gorakshep around 10:30 a.m. and stop here for lunch. I had to take some AMS medication during lunch. The remaining path to Everest Base Camp becomes even more challenging, with rocky terrain and moraines formed by glacial debris accumulation. There was brilliant, blinding sunlight all over the valley. En route to our destination, we pass by the renowned Khumbhu Glacier, situated on the slopes of the Everest. This is the moment, a moment where my long-cherished dream became a reality. Or am I still dreaming? Finally, stepped onto the Mount Everest Base Camp at 1:30 p.m. on February 3, 2024. Surrounded by the majestic Himalayas, we stood in awe, grateful for the journey that led us to this mystic destination.
Can I go a little closer? Can I touch you? No?
At 4:30 a.m. under the starry sky, I embarked for KALAPATHHAR with just my guide, while my fellow trekkers opted to rest. Even with all my layers, I couldn't stop shivering. Fatigued and gasping for breath in the thin atmosphere, I took slow but steady steps. The view from the top relieved all the pain and filled my heart with ecstasy. I shed a few tears of joy. The sight of Mount Everest was majestic. When I came back down at 8 a.m., I felt severely defeated by the cold and high altitude. Set out on the journey back home with an exhausted body, yet a redeemed mind and soul. Started our way back home with a heavy heart, exhausted body, but a rejuvenated soul. I was not the same person who started this trek just a few days back. I felt more composed, strong, and awakened, although the high altitude still took a serious toll on my physical condition. I learned a lot of life lessons during this trek. The vast expanse of the fierce nature along my base camp trek taught me to be humble and grateful for my flare of existence in the lap of nature's grandeur. I felt our life is too small to complain about what we lack and feel sad about small daily struggles. We are too insignificant in the grand scheme of things to nurture any pride, ego, or arrogance. We should just spread love and let love in. As the poet said, "I am but a speck of dust in this vast universe, but I am a star among stars such as you." In this infinite world, we are only small from the vantage point of our minute perspective. We are the universe, and the universe is us. Despite the scenic beauty of the trails, I struggled to hike the treacherous terrains and suffered from physical ailments. It was hard, but I realized that nothing is too hard to overcome if you love what you are doing. There will be tough stretches on your route, but that pain is a significant part of the whole scheme. You should find your slow but sustainable pace and enjoy the journey, as there is always a beautiful scenery waiting at the end of every difficult stretch. Observing the colors of life amidst the harsh nature conditions, I realized that life always discovers its way in the grand tapestry of existence. Through the darkest of nights, it persists, carving out a route through the labyrinth of uncertainty. Life's essence permeates even the harshest landscapes, ever resilient, ever seeking the light. I stayed at the base camp merely few hours, but it took months of planning and preparation to reach that point. Through that fun process, I realized that it's the journey that often matters more than the destination. Like a river winding through valleys and mountains, it is the twists and turns, the ebbs and flows, that shape our souls and carve our paths. It is not merely reaching the destination that enriches our spirits. The profound experiences, connections, and revelations that dance along the way paints our lives with hues of resilience, wonder, and wisdom.
We are going back home.
There's an American song. Yeah, man, I'm going back home.